Hey guys, wanted to make a quick video here. Number one, I'm wishing you nothing but the best and the happiest new year of 2011. And number two is, I get a lot of emails about voice, and I've had a lot of people write me up and say, Drew, will you please expand on voice a little bit? Number one, I'm not the best singer, but I've spent years learning about voice and just picking everything apart because that's just who I am. I'm kind of a perfectionist that way. And so I spent a lot of time listening to voice, learning about voice, and getting into all of the pedagogy that goes into voice. So let me start with this. Let me set this down. I'm going to get comfortable. Just real quickly, for those of you guys who give a crap about these, I want to talk about voice here real quickly. And what I would say to you guys is there are three main things I want to share about voice to you. Number one is you always got to whine on your voice. We talked about that. All the best singers are always whining on your voice. You're always trying to narrow your voice out a little bit. Now, you're going to get people, coaches who are going to say, give me a nice big open ah vowel, and give me a nice big round tone. Now, that might be okay for somebody whose voice is put together a little bit better. Usually, I can get a female through her breaks on an open vowel if I get her to whine a lot and get her in the right vowel, and I can get her voice to seat right, which is really difficult when you guys send me emails saying, hey, how can I get into my head voice easier? Because it's different for everybody's voice, because there's a little area in there, and everybody's voice is different with how big and small it is and how much compression and power I can drag through there. My voice is kind of smaller, so even though I sing really big, in all reality, I sing a lot better when I'm singing more thin and very light and high. Like when I sang that James Taylor song on there and I was just singing a cappella, it's very light. I can get in and out of my registers. If I start to lean into the lean into the bow we talked about, if I start to lean into that a little bit more, then I'm going to have some trouble. And I'm going to have to really kind of get up in there and and I have to cry a little bit more. But it thins the tone out. Now, here's the other thing. You guys are going to come up on a high note, and you're either going to splat that tone, or you're going to have to try and get on top of it and push down on it. And that's going to be up to you. You can use your own, direction of whether you think this is a vowel or a word that you want to pull up on and get really big on, if you can do it without hurting your voice, or if you want to get down on it. Get down on it. Sorry, it happens all the time, like little catchphrases, and they just bring up songs. But three major things. One is that you want to cry a lot. Number two is that the second thing you'll do once you get your voice together and you start crying on it is you're going to want to make sure that you're dropping your tone. This is the hardest thing for me because I can kind of get up into my head voice and then come down on it, but I have a hard time dropping it. Once you drop your tone, that's when all the best stuff happens. But it's really difficult for me. I don't know why. It just is. And it's probably one of the harder things for a lot of singers. And the last thing I would tell you, number three is, and I'll have some more details right after this anyway, is that you'll notice your tone will pop back. Not only does your voice go further back, you'll feel it go, which, by the way, on my vocal video, when I did that, I totally screwed it up. That was not really a good example of a transition, but you get the idea. The point is that the tone is supposed to go back, thinner and back. And your chords will always get this feeling, like take two pieces of grass out in your yard, put them together and blow through them, and then tighten them. And what ends up happening at the same point every time you did it, and you all of a sudden you tightened it, and then the grass broke. Well, what did you do? You grabbed two pieces of grass again, you did the same thing, and at that same pitch that it broke. Same thing happens with your voice. It's those flaps, but the problem is they break open. It's up, and they break open, and that's falsetto. Now, the only way to get through there is to try and get those, instead of getting them to vibrate on these really heavy-duty lengths, you want to get them to come together on a smaller wavelength, which is why instead of going, ha, which is a very big, heavy wavelength, you want to get your chords to come together right on them and go, anyway, you'll get it as time goes by, and especially as your chords start to stretch out. Now, that's two major things you guys need to know, is that when you start singing really chesty and belty and commercial, what's going to happen is your voice is going to harden up, and it's going to turn into like leather almost. And when you sing the right way, your voice is going to get stretchy and kind of almost sticky. Like if you listen to some of the best singers, like Carrie Underwood, when she speaks, you can hear it in her voice. It goes, she gets this like sticky, almost where chords they stick once they come together before they start to vibrate. And I can hear it, but that's because I've been doing it for so long. That's what you want. You want your voice to be so sticky and stretchy all the time that it can do things that you normally can't do. And one of the things I would swear by the way, any information, anything you could take here and you do on your own, you do at your own risk, but one of the major things that I recommend to singers is trying HA, which is called hyaluronic acid. Take that with a collagen supplement and it will blow your mind. I've looked up and down, I've used Vocalese and Clear Voice and all the major ones along with all the other stuff people swear by, and I swear by HA with collagen together. Those two things I just swear by. They have literally dramatically changed my voice in a way that is just, I stand behind them 100%. I have one by Purity Products that I swear by that I'll probably put the link on. Okay, so I talked about whining, I talked about dropping your tone, which is one of the most difficult things for most singers, and you'll notice that it'll go back. So if you guys you start out with that tone in your chest, try and push it down into your belt and just be like, I might screw this up, I don't care, but I'm giving you an example. If you start going, up, your tone is going to start to creep up in your chest. The best thing you can do is try and get like a dopey na and go na 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 and keep pushing it down and pushing it further back. You'll feel it pop back there, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's not a tightening and getting bigger thing, it's just a transitioning thing, and that's really what it comes to at the end of the day. Those are my three major things. Whine, cry on a note as good as you can, try and keep a narrow vowel. I'm really bad about splatting my vowels, but it's A, E, I, O, oo. People with accents, like I have, I guess, people tell me all the time, have a tendency to splat their vowels. That's really bad because you want those chords to always stay straight up and down together. May, me, my, mo, moo, mum, or whatever, A, E, I, O, oo. And so you want to make sure that they're always straight up and down. If you're screwing up, you got to get back to that straight up and down. Like people, when they go to hit the high notes, like if you listen to Here Comes Goodbye, I think I hit that, Here Comes Goodbye, instead of ba, Here Comes Goodbye, I just went, Here Comes Goodbye, here comes the last time. You got to make sure you cry straight up and down on it. Now your larynx is going to kind of pull up on you. It's going to do that, especially if your voice has been trained like mine has. And I've kind of trained it the wrong way, at least I did for a long time. And I also like to mimic certain sounds that I hear which kind of call for that. But if you're doing this right and you're getting seated in your voice right, it should be cake. The biggest thing I would say in the end is you got to get seated in your voice. And what I meant by the getting in on it small, but when I talked about that before, is that you got to get in on your voice. It's E, ah. If you go with an open vowel, ah, with your chords apart, you're just going to blow more air through and you're going to break. I know you're going to break. I can hear it before you even get to the high note. But if you try and go, if you start with an E at every single note in your voice and go E, ah. E, ah. That's what you always should be. E, ah. If I'd gone, ha, I would have broken. It's getting in on there and then pushing down. And then there's so much stuff I want to cover. The other thing would be like get into your head voice. For those of you guys who might be able to get into there and you might be able to get seated and just like this head tone and you're leaning down on it. Eventually what you want to do is make sure that you're pushing right on the break. It's like a seesaw, right? All the tones here or it's all in chest. What you want to do is you want to get in on your head voice and start pushing on that break and step back from it so that it's kind of like, instead of yay, right, you're singing down on the break, you want to get in there and push that break out and then sing down on it. So you're singing, you're teeter-totter, you're right in the middle, so you're getting chest tones and head tones. And it's up to you. You can do mostly head tone if that's what you want, or all chest if you want to pull up and know that you're going to hit the break and spot your vowels. But in the end, it's hum-mooey. It's all about just singing. I swear by a lot of people. I swear by doing like a may, may, may is a really good one. I usually try and put my finger on my forehead and go. I do the nay, nay, nay first. Nay, 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 and I go may, 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 may. Now, eventually, a high note is really just this sound that you're getting and you're leaning in more. Is really all it is. You're just going yeah, 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 and then you're leaning in on on it a little bit bigger, and it sounds like an extension of chest, but it's really just a blended tone. It's yay! Now, I can get up there, but it's a thinner tone right now. If I work on that puppy, I can push down on it and get some bigger tones. And this is just all stuff that you guys are going to have to spend time on. It's not something that comes overnight, and it's definitely not something that comes with an average vocal coach. I'm sorry, but there just aren't that many coaches out there who know what the hell they're talking about. So you just got to look for the best ones. My best recommendation would be Brett Manning, who's a good friend of mine, and Seth Riggs is obviously extremely talented at what he does.